Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I've got a subscriber encounter and a couple of other encounters that I'd like to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that, well, they really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. Now, everyone, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's encounters. Shall we? Today's first encounter is a subscriber submission. My boyfriend's mother had died, and we laid her to rest 2 years ago on the property. I had each night taken some wood near the fence 150 yards from the grave with a Bible to clear my head, reading it by the fire. On the third night, by 10 p.m., I heard some growling by the fence. I put the Bible down. I took a long piece of wood and put it in the fire, lit it up, and got ready. Not going to be a meal tonight, I thought. I saw movement near the middle of the garden behind the fence. Slow walking, the flames were burning slowly from the long wood I held. More growling. Got up to go to the house. As I did, my boyfriend's father came out with a gun. He heard the growls, thought it was a dog outside, but the look on his face as the Dogman rounded the corner, he was not happy. He yelled, "Get inside! Werewolf, leave us alone! Werewolf, leave this land!" Then he came into the house, and his dad just sat up all night with a gun by the window till the next morning. In the morning, he said, "Stay away from the garden till I say it's okay." Today's second encounter. The story I'm going to share is a real experience I had on September 18th, 2010. I was out at a friend's house, who I'll call Jay, about 15 miles outside of Gillette, Wyoming, at about 2 in the morning. Jay is Lakota, Sioux, and grew up in Wounded Knee, South Dakota. I'm white and always been into paranormal things. I've had encounters with ghosts and seen numerous UFOs, especially when I'm playing with the green laser pointer. We were sitting there playing some video games and checking out some videos of new ones coming out soon. While watching a preview of the game, I commented that the Japanese dude talking about was giving off an alien vibe. Jay then said back to me, "Why do you always talk about aliens?" Of which he became notably disturbed, sitting in his chair. I replied, "I don't know, I'm just getting a weird vibe from him." Jay then stood up out of his chair and asked if I wanted to go outside with him while he smoked a cigarette. I agreed and grabbed my green laser out of my bag to point at stars a bit and maybe see another UFO. He's a few steps ahead of me, and the sliding glass door is opened already as I step out. I shut the door behind me and take a few steps to the railing. We're standing there for about 10 seconds, and I point the laser around in the sky for another 10. Then I point the laser towards the horizon on my right side, just above a large bush or shrub about 10 feet tall and 15 feet wide. That's about 30 feet away in Jay's yard. As soon as I did this, the huge bush started shaking violently for a few seconds as we both said, "What the fuck?" Then the porch light crackles and makes a humming noise as it fizzes out in a second. I said, "F this, I'm going inside." Jay replies, "Right?" And being closest to the door is sliding it open. I'm about 4 steps away and manage to take my first step as the noise on the roof and another one on the other side of the porch happen at the same time. This noise is like some kind of bass or something, really strange. Hard to describe, but I'll never forget it. Before I can take another step, I was hit by this sound and strong wind as I'm feeling hands touch all over me. I felt like it was a tornado and doing 100 flips. I just lunched over and closed my eyes and braced, thinking, this is it, I'm being taken. This chaotic wind and feeling goes for about 5 seconds, then it calms, and I realize I'm lying on my back. I hear Jay telling me, "Calm down, just stay calm." I open my eyes and my arms are crossed on my chest like some Egyptian pharaoh. Jay's standing there in the open door, centered in my line of sight. And 2 very large black dogs or wolves are on each side of me, growling and showing their very large teeth. I don't look at the dogs directly. Jay says, "Just stay calm and relax, man," as he puts his hand out to pick me up. I oblige and grab his hand. Then I stand up, shaking in shock and fear as the dogs stop growling. I mutter out, "They're fast," to which Jay chuckles and says, "Yeah," and takes a step back, standing in the open doorway. Just then Jay's girlfriend comes walking through the kitchen saying, "What was that noise?" She comes to the door next to Jay and sees me standing there on the porch between these 2 huge, wire-haired dogs, saying, "Oh, dogs!" A little chuckle, and remains silent, standing next to Jay inside the open door. Jay tells me to sit down and just stay calm. I do. When I sit down, the dogs begin to growl again. I then look at one on my right, making eye contact with it. Its eyes are about the size of softballs, and look as if their spiraling green galaxy is in each one. They're majestically beautiful. The beauty is quickly forgotten as soon as I look at them. My brain inside my skull feels like it's being squeezed down to the size of a baseball slowly for no more than about 10 seconds. I closed my eyes after a few seconds from agony and started to say, "No, no, no!" At that moment, I thought my brain was going to implode. I had a very real vision of the earth burning and felt the loss and sorrow of losing everyone. I screamed out in the pain and said, "Please, God, don't kill me," at the top of my lungs. At that moment, a pan or something fell in the kitchen, clanking around in the sink. It startled everyone, including the dogs, and my head was released from this grasp. As both the dogs looked towards the inside without a moment's hesitation, bolted, as that strange noise was made again. They departed in a fraction of a second. I sat there bewildered and teary-eyed as Jay put his hand down to me again and helped me up. He said, "Let's get inside now." I shut the door behind me and, in shocked state, kept saying, "What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that, Jay?" while holding back from bawling. He told me again to calm down and got me to relax. I asked, "Was that a werewolf or what?" Jay replied, "No," and chuckled. "Then what the F was that?" A moment of silence goes by as Jay is obviously contemplating what to say. Finally, he says this word I had never heard before and replies, "Some people call them skinwalkers." We then go into his room to smoke some weed so I can quit shaking. He says he's weirded out because they've never come to him before with anybody else around before me. I asked him when was the first time he saw them, and he said he was about 12 years old. A lot of people he knew were dying at the time, and he wandered into the field in the dark when a dog approached him. We had an in-depth conversation for about an hour on the subject. I can't tell he's not telling everything he knows. I'm asking him why they are so hostile towards me, and if he made them come to me. He denied making them come, and didn't really answer why they did what they did. He just said, "They like the way you think." Eventually, I calm down, and Jay insists we should go back outside. I'm saying, screw that. They've probably been listening to us the whole time, and I'm scared, man. Jay then says, "It'll be okay. They are listening, and they are waiting." All of a sudden, I get this weird feeling that my dad is outside. Not my birth dad, but my true father. It's a feeling I've never felt before, and haven't since. So Jay convinces me to go outside with him a while. I have this feeling that I tell him about. So we go out and walk for about 50 yards away from the yard in a field. We sit down and begin talking about stuff, and we start hearing noises all around us. He tells me to relax, so I do. Then we lie down and stargaze for a few minutes. As I'm poking my head up, looking around the tall grass and seeing multiple dog-like figures walking in circles in each direction, Jay then stands up and tells me to stay here as he starts walking away. I say, "Nope, if you're walking, I'm walking." He tells me I need to stay here as he keeps trying to walk back to the house. After I get him to sit down with me for a few times, eventually he gets agitated. I won't sit there by myself, and we make our way inside. Today's third encounter. Around 3 a.m., July 14th, 2020, I had my first cryptid sighting. I'm sharing this with you right now to see if anyone else has seen or heard anything like this, what I saw today. Now, I'm a trash man. I start my days very early every day, so the majority of my work day takes place in the wee hours. I live in south central Pennsylvania and have resided there nearly my whole life. My place of employment is a college town of Shippensburg. My job sits in the outlying area of Shippensburg. A lot of these areas are surrounded by vast farmlands and open fields. Well, this morning, while traveling to start my route, I turned down one of the many roads surrounded by fields. It was a half-crescent moon, so there was plenty of light to see in the darkness. As I rounded my turn, I saw what looked like a cow lying in the open field. But this field had no fences or wire to keep livestock in, and it's the only one. I found this very odd as I'm looking at the broad shoulders of what I thought was a cow. So I broke out my high-powered mag light to brighten up what I was looking at. When my beam hit this animal, it rose up from the ground in a slow, lumbering, and purposeful action. As it came up on all fours, the creature stood about 5 to 6 feet tall at the shoulder blades. I'm in my truck. I'm elevated, and I sit about that high from the ground. The creature was about 30 feet from me, and I know if I stood toe-to-toe with it, its head would be taller than I, and I'm 6 foot. Now, at this moment, the back of the creature is still facing me. It then turned its head into my light, and the lenses flared off of its yellow-green colored eyes, and they were facing forward. This is a predatory creature, not a damn cow. At that moment, heat and cold washed over my body, and I feel a real, genuine, life-threatening fear take over. I didn't move, sitting in the middle of the road knowing I'm low on the pecking order of the food chain at this very moment. It continues to measure me for what felt like forever and suddenly turned its head and tore off faster than I could know. My guess was 30 to 40 miles an hour as it darted off, and after all this, the only thing I could think was that was some sort of giant hyena. The most terrifying real-life creature I'd ever witnessed, and it was gone fast. It's been on my mind all day, and I had to share this experience. I've listened to others and hear them talking about their sightings, feeling a way, wishing for my experience. And as of this morning, I really wish I didn't get my turn, not like that, not feeling so vulnerable, like it was staring at its next meal. I hope there are others that may have seen or heard of what I saw. That light can be shed on the topic, especially for my area. I work in the darkness all the time. Now I'm looking over my shoulder. Today's fourth and final encounter. The story belongs to a friend of mine, and he told it to me once, and I simply had to tell it. My friend is of Wikanutsa heritage, a Native American tribe who has settled the Pacific Northwest coast. He is quite the character. For one, he is a whopping 6'10", and has the blackest eyes you could imagine. He's always has this frown on his face, which makes him even more intimidating. He is everything but a bad guy. In fact, he's the most gentle of giants. He was working at a gas station in Grayland, Washington, 92. And he pretty much always worked the graveyard shift from 11 to 7. Business wasn't actually booming at night, so he was usually watching TV or reading magazines between customers. The area he lived and worked is deeply associated with all things Native American. There was a potent sense of pride in the surrounding communities, but also a very distinct presence of superstition and old traditions. My friend was no exception. He was a firm believer of the old ways. This made his encounter even more terrifying. One night he was sitting as usual watching TV when a customer entered the gas station. The customer paid for his gas, a pack of smokes, and some soda and returned to his car. Nothing unusual. But as my friend looked out the window towards the customer's car, he spotted what looked like a huge dog sitting by the edge of the woods. Now the window is located on the side of the building, some distance from the sliding door, overlooking the pumps and roof covering it. On the sides of the roof are strong halogen lights which shine into the gas station. This gives the gas station not only an eerie lighting, with the blinds casting long striped shadows, but also blinds the teller to an extent. As he peered through the window trying to focus on the dog, it was gone. He didn't think much of it. Even if it was a wolf, he was inside. Wolves are common there, but this wolf was huge. He brushed it off and returned to watching TV. A couple hours go by, and not a single customer has entered since the last one. He was just about to refill some condiments when he heard a huge thud coming from the back. It wasn't inside, he could hear that, but it came from the back and behind the building where they kept the garbage. The gas station had been visited before by scavenging homeless, but they were friendly and they really didn't do much. It wasn't his garbage, and it's just garbage. Let him take it. But it was getting noisier. He decided to grab a flashlight and a gun from the office and circle around the back to tell whoever ventured out there to leave, as he had enough. His presence alone would have scared anyone off, but he wanted to feel safe just in case. He exited through the sliding doors, walking past the window he was just sitting by. As he turned the corner, he shines the light towards the dumpster. As the cone of light hits the dumpsters, my friend instantly drops the flashlight and the gun. It's the huge dog he saw from before, scouring through the garbage. It wasn't a dog, though. It clearly stood on its hind legs, reaching the same height of himself. It couldn't be a bear. It was too gaunt. The creature's eyes had been glowing in the light of the flashlight, making it even more terrifying. He ran inside the gas station and wasn't followed. He locked the door, stayed inside the whole night, and quit the next day. My friend is still convinced of what he saw that night was a skinwalker or a shape-shifting shaman of sorts. But I kind of think it was a Dogman. Who knows? Maybe it's just Native American lore and culture. Wow. Some scary ones there. That last one was terrifying. I mean, to live in the old ways and, be respectful to the old ways, and to be a very large person, to come around the corner and see a Dogman or whatever that thing was, is definitely terrifying. Holy goodness. The two dogs, the wolves or whatever they were that encompassed the gentleman, that's terrifying. I can only imagine how that poor guy felt. And the subscriber encounter, she has shared before, and when I get all of her submissions, I'm going to share them all with you. she did say that she's from the South, and her grandmother was old school and had some encounters. I'm kind of waiting on those. I'm very excited to hear those. I love hearing the older encounters as much as the new ones, but the older ones interest me more for some reason, just because the historical context maybe. And I'm not really sure. You know, just we live in an interesting age of the computer. And when someone has an encounter, they can easily put it anywhere. You know, they don't have to hold it like my parents did or grandparents did. You know, it's just, we live in an amazing time for discovery. And hopefully we can get the answers that we need. I don't know, guys. It's been a long day, and I'm going to call it quits, and have a good night. Stay safe, everyone, and I'm going to bid you farewell.